This is Call with Dads, where we dive into the ups, downs, and everything in between when it comes to being a dad. Here, it's all about connecting with a community of dads who are committed to learning and leveling up as fathers. Welcome to Call with Dads. Now let's get started.
That's like saying poop in front of a 5-year-old. You can't.
Yeah, but it goes all well. It's like my son was watching a video on ecosystems, right?
Mhm.
And it was a new channel that I wasn't familiar with, so of course he was sitting right there next to me, and the guy said the shit word, and
Mhm.
I was like, I'm like, nope, we're changing that, because my son started
Yeah.
going, Daddy, what is shh? I'm like, no, that's poop.
Actually, nothing.
I'm like
Yeah.
that it. I'm like it's the bad word way of saying poop.
Right.
And so yeah, let's dig into this because we're already talking about different ways to try to teach our kids and all this, and it. The topic is basically just letting
Mhm.
people know you have to kind of learn about the right way to teach your kids stuff. You can't just let other people teach your kids whatever they want.
Mhm.
I mean, just like we were just saying, the fact of if I would have just let it go and not think anything about me teaching my son, hey, that shit word, he he'd be running around using it everywhere he could because he
Mhm.
knows, and it's
Right.
fun.
It's
It's
funny.
it is funny when you're a kid
Right.
and you hear adults use it when they're upset. Well,
Yeah.
I probably said, "Come on, get your out of the way when I'm driving,"
Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm sure my son's picked up a lot of things I've said while I'm driving, which
Yeah.
not
I say the
necessary.
I say the cunt word all the time. I don't mean to.
I
I'm just
I've I've trained myself to say dummycrats. In
yeah.
fact, I just bought some pins to say "Don't be a dummycrat. We think here," and and
Yeah.
it's fantastic. I created it myself. I have the logo, all this.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna pin it to my hat and just me
Nice.
being
That's
me.
funny.
But
Yeah.
well, Dummycrats originated from my son used to watch a show called Wildcrats, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
he used to really love it. And now that he's at the age that it's meant for him to watch, he doesn't get into it anymore. But
Yeah.
we started off with that. So originally it wasn't meant to be political minded or what's have you, but
It fits,
it
oddly.
does. But the funny thing is I've had to explain to people. It's kind of sad that you have to go there because that's not what it was originally, but it does fit you. So okay,
How do you know that it fits you?
yeah,
That's weird. What
but
about that made you think I was talking about you? Maybe it's your actions.
yeah,
No.
I'm a big
Even
fan.
you know you're dumb.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of like how we both have discussed multiple times about just
Mhm.
keeping our kids out of public school and the fact of
Yeah,
the things that they're teaching in public schools. Like
right.
obviously we don't have the same type of school that you have their Latin school for your kid.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, we've interviewed a couple of Christian and Catholic schools here, and
Hmm.
it was kind of one was it was interesting, but they were just 100% against the technology side of stuff.
Yeah.
And at first that sounds really cool, you
Yeah.
know, but
You're like, oh, cool. Then you're like,
yeah,
well, I mean, as much as I understand, you still need to somewhat embrace technology because it is here and it ain't never going away. We're
right.
not going to be sitting around a table with candles. I'm sorry. I'm going to go click, like, you know.
Well, right. Well, look at it. Like, thanks to technology, like my son is able to go through and sit there and say, oh, well, let me explain to you this ecosystem, this bug, this animal, because obviously
Right.
that's what he's obsessed with is nature and animals,
Hmm.
which is great that he's obsessed with that because he learns about it, then goes out and tries to explore, tries to find, which expands his understanding.
Right.
I mean, trust me, my wife doesn't know I've done this yet, but I've just bought a queen ant and some workers so that they can
Oh,
impregnate.
cool.
And he understands
Yeah.
the worker ants will impregnate the queen and then they will have broods. And I mean, he
Hmm.
can discuss with you the process of nature in that sense,
Yeah.
but being able to teach him that, I would not have been able to teach him that if it wasn't for technology.
Right. You can show them like educational videos that explain that stuff. Yeah. Like
Exactly. And
you can read a book with a lot of stuff, and sometimes, I mean, sometimes you can get it, but when you have a like active, like encompassing visual representation where it shows it progressive, like happening actually, even if it's a cartoon, like an animated version of it, it's still, it still shows it. It still shows how it happens in a better way, So technology is not 100% bad.
no, it's not. I think it's one, if you don't do it all the time. Two, it also depends on how you use it. If you're letting your kids
Right.
watch like Blippi and Cocomelon, and I kid you not, my
Yeah.
household they'll even say Cocomelon is bad, or as
Yeah.
bad or as bad as Cocomelon. My daughter
Hmm.
being two almost three, she goes, I'm like, no, that's bad. She'll look at me and go, bad as Cocomelon? I'm like, yes.
Yes. Yes. As bad as Coco Melon. Yeah. Blippi's like, I don't even know what that is. Like,
Blippi's
it's like
see
an adult show that's perverse and weird, but they dress it up for children so it attracts children with like colorful hats and funny butterflies and stuff. And like, if there was any account that says, I'm a fucking pedophile, that's it.
well the original Blippi. So like the
Hmm.
my kids will watch the original Blippi because the original Blippi he actually I think he did a good job. All
Hmm.
this he and as far as I know he has a family this and that, but he's focused on
He was
teaching the
normal.
kid. Yeah. Then they replaced Blippi with some guy that you question his.
Yeah.
And then they got this girl on, this Mika girl, who was the original Mika, was pretty good. She was
Hmm.
entertaining. She actually could. Then like after a couple episodes, they replaced her for what I refer to as a DEI hire. And that what
Yeah.
confused me is the original one. I guess I don't. I think she was a black girl too, but and she was like I said, she's good, but I guess she wasn't black enough.
Yeah.
But
It's weird.
because the other one seems to have less talent than the first one, and I don't know what happened to the
Hmm.
first Mika, but I thought she was much better, much more entertaining, much more. She was like
Right.
the original Blippi.
Yeah.
But after all that change, it's like no, this is just. And literally after all this, I kind of my kids don't watch kid YouTube anymore. It's
Yeah.
I have the app just as an emergency, as in I hate to do this,
Hmm.
but I have to distract you for a minute so I can handle this emergency
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of thing.
I do. We do that sometimes too.
All
Yeah.
right.
I would like to get, what's that one? It's the Save Your Sons guys. What's that one
Oh,
called?
Sherwood or something.
Sure. Yeah. Sherwood. That'd be pretty cool because there's a lot of educational stuff, and that's kind of the goal in education with me and my family is I want to, if I'm going to allow them to watch TV shows, learn educational videos, and use stuff like that, I at least want them to have my own personal values, whether
Right.
it be political or religious or whatever. And Sherwood does. Sherwood has pretty solid values, pretty good, conservative style values where they believe in like, Christian stuff and conservative style stuff. So
Hmm.
I would say that's probably the one of my biggest goals and one of the reasons why we go to the school that we do.
Right.
They have that. So but they're okay with technology. They restrict technology use in their school,
Hmm.
which most schools should to an extent, but
Right.
they still embrace it. They understand and they teach their kids to use it and stuff like that. So that's pretty
Right.
cool. It's helpful.
Well, well, look at like Homester, the company that we're building,
Mm-hmm.
where Homester is a online service allowing
Mm-hmm.
people to either get a class, and as our instructor base and all this grows, it'll definitely be better, but you can do
Yeah.
a in person, like you and I talking, kind of a course where, say, you want to learn math for whatever
Mm-hmm.
age, or you want, like,
Right.
I'm trying to get a guy that we just bought the ants off of. I'm trying to talk with him to have him do a class on ants. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm
That'd be
reach.
pretty cool.
Then there's people that say they want to have a in-person art class
Mm-hmm.
where, and you can use the technology to build up one if you want to have a business teaching, but
Yeah.
and you can use the technology, but in all truth, look at it. If say I get this ant guy to agree to come on and do his course, right?
Mm-hmm.
First off, how many kids do you think would have had the opportunity to sit there and go, oh, well, homeschooler, regular school, whatever, would have sat there and been able to say, oh, I took a class, I'm doing a 4-week course on how to take care of ants.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
become Ant-Man.
to become, yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, in all truth, that's one of the great things about homeschooling is you have
Mm-hmm.
all these options to be able to find what fits your values, what
Yeah.
fits political,
Right.
religious.
To me, that seems like the goal that we're trying to go with
Oh,
this
sir.
website,
Yeah.
with this homeser.com, because I mean, a lot of people go to these homeschool platforms, and what do they provide? They provide their curriculum tip to tip, math, English, science, religion,
Right.
Christianity, all this stuff, and it's almost like a cookie cutter board. Here's everything, grade 9, which is good to an extent, but then what if you're watching the online videos, you like the English teacher and you like the math teacher, but the political science teacher's not
Yeah.
very good. You know what I mean?
Right.
You like, this kind of sucks. I wish they had a different political science teacher, or I wish they had a different language arts teacher. Maybe my kid would adapt to it a little bit better and be able to get better grades and stuff. And that's kind of where it seems like this kind of pulls that play. So aside from all the other stuff, such as like art, doing the ants. Maybe we'll get some, auto mechanic stuff and some wood shop stuff on there.
Oh, yeah.
People wanting to add their own stuff and even be able to schedule local in-person classes as well as online courses.
Hmm.
But we're also hoping to get, regular just math teachers,
Yeah.
that way they can teach ninth grade math, and if we get 5 different teachers all offering that, you can watch their, tutorials and go, I don't like A, I don't like B, I don't like C, but D seems like really good for me and my family. And you can choose that person. And that
Right.
seems to be pretty cool.
Well, the nice thing about it as well is people's going to be able to read the reviews of, oh, well, this
Hmm.
teacher's good. Like I'm putting,
Right.
like we were talking beforehand, I'm creating a math based on construction. So
Right.
how you use math in construction for middle grade.
Right.
Now, I
Yeah.
like to I like to sit there and think, well, I'm gonna do a fantastic job. And in all truth, people might sit there and go, I love the concept, but the teacher just stinks.
Teacher is kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
kind of bland, doesn't really joke too much, real uptight guy, whatever it is.
Yeah. I
But
can smell them through the screen.
whatever it is. But people can put their reviews in there and say yay, nay, and you, instead of sitting there saying, "Oh well, it is what it is. I don't know. I'm taking a
Right.
chance." You can actually see what other people are thinking, so you're not taking that big of a risk. But
Yeah.
I mean, unlike a lot of other platforms, at least the ones I'm seeing, yeah, people that are going out, they can do pre-recorded. So everyone,
Hmm.
which I understand, pre-recorded allows you to have like mass courses where you can sell them, kind of like
Right.
Udemy. Udemy,
Yeah.
like Udemy and Coursera. I've used those for me to learn how to do certain things,
Yeah.
and you can get them for courses for $19 to $700
Right.
now, and it makes sense because you can watch them at your own pace. You can do what you need to do to figure out what you
Hmm.
need to do. Blah blah blah.
Right.
What I find for me personally, like I'll do the time for learning homeschooling online thing. It's
Hmm.
non-religious. It's just straight, and I sit there with my kid learning the. Oh, I'm not learning. I'm teaching him with it about the. I think he's doing third grade social studies. He's almost finished with third grade science. Math, we use a Chinese service, and the Chinese service is doing kind of.
Hmm.
It's very limited, but they do where they have 4 kids, 3 to 4 kids sitting down, and they're
Right.
all there while the teacher's teaching them all over the world.
Right.
And that's kind of the concept, because I realized when my son started his Chinese class,
Hmm.
he was learning a lot of. Sorry about the shaking. The
Is
cat
it the
Boots
cat?
is the cat. She's right behind the monitor cleaning herself. So, but I mean, the thought is like, if say I'm in Virginia and I want to teach a course, somebody
Hmm.
from Nebraska could easily hop on and watch
Right.
this. I could also
Yeah.
take that course and pre-record it, and somebody could say, okay, I watched the pre-recorded. I want to get on this next level for the live courses and be
Hmm.
able to get that. And I mean, it's not that hard if you know the topic.
Hmm.
I think most people's fear of trying to teach what they know
Right.
is because we all have stuff we know. It's
Right.
writing the information out, trying to sell it, trying to get it listed.
Yeah.
And I think I almost want to make a joke about using a AI course to teach them how to do.
How to use
Well,
AI.
no, how to use AI to do the course writing, because
Right.
a big part of this is us as parents, us as professionals teaching the things that we know. You
Yeah.
know, to sit there and say, well, I can I use ChatGPT to write the summaries, and I put in and made ChatGPT write it nicer than I did, so it looks more
Right.
professional. I'll be honest with you, the amount of times I even use it on emails now.
Yeah.
Please,
It helps tremendously.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, please rewrite this, and I'll put in a
Mhm.
paragraph, and it'll come back with 3 paragraphs, and I'll go, that sounds so much nicer, and I'll
A little
tweak.
bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tweak it,
Yeah.
and I mean,
Yeah.
it's the fact of technology is here. We have to know how to
Hmm.
use it, and
Right.
it's crazy
Yeah.
that people are sitting there going, "Well, I will never use this because it's evil," or
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it called.
One of the things I was thinking about for the homester.com that parents could actually use and people locally can use is, that there are always going to be parents that are out there that want to homeschool their kids and just can't.
Right.
Both parents work and they both work very, very time consuming jobs where they have to go to their job and they can't work from home and so on and so forth. And there's that stuff. And they just don't have that option. They got the money and they're totally willing to pay that little bit extra. They just don't have the time. There's no possible way, you know. Um, but what if, your neighbor does?
Yeah.
Why can't your neighbor schedule the platform through homesir.com, even if they're using a separate homeschool service, that they have their own, they can use this as a scheduling platform for courses and classes and stuff like that for other kids locally. And not only can they do, their neighbor or something, because most times you can just be like, hey, bring them over, you don't
Yeah.
really got to use a scheduling platform. But if they could use that idea to offer versions of online for kids that aren't local, or they can use it as a scheduling platform to bring in other locals, and maybe the mom that does sit there and homeschool her kid all day long, why can't she homeschool 8 or 9 kids at the same time?
Well,
Just, make some money and grow together as a family,
oh, exactly. Well, the nice thing is like the one great thing about HomeSir is the instructors can set up a recurring system.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to have it from this. You could do a reoccurring and have your payments set up to reoccurring. So say you want to do $50 a kid per week and you do,
Right.
or whatever it is. And
Mm-hmm.
now, mind you, I like to use round numbers. You can use $23 an hour if you want, but
Yeah.
you can use 57, whatever numbers work with your math. But
Right.
the fact is like you could easily set that up to where you have your course
Mm-hmm.
set up to recurring year
Right.
round. Because like
Yeah.
we don't stop homeschooling halfway through the year or summertime. I mean,
Right.
in all truth, my son, and when my daughter starts, because once she gets
Mm-hmm.
to that level to be able to homeschool, she's going to be doing it too, where it's a couple hours in the morning for the fundamentals, the math, reading, science,
Right.
basic science, what's have you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then they're going to go out and explore the world, read books, all this stuff to allow them to be able to address whatever's coming in their way
Mm-hmm.
of the real world, because that's part of it.
Right.
They need to understand how to think for English classes, how to think about for that stuff, how to be able to comprehend math problems, see it, this and
Mm-hmm.
that. But
Right.
they also need real world experience being out there, which my son has classes galore. He
Yeah.
and the problem is finding good classes for him, which
Right.
is like we've discussed before. HomeServe's meant to eliminate that problem because
Right.
like for here, the only classes that I'm finding is either through a company that if you don't fit into their standards,
Mm-hmm.
then they're going to kick you out and try to keep your
And kick you
money.
out. Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing that people can do, Um, maybe like some parent or something, you know, maybe they don't even homeschool or do any of that stuff.
Right.
But I mean, how simple would it be if you're just having fun with your kid? You take your kid out, and just walking through nature and seeing stuff while you're doing that. You just, record it, record the stuff you say, and you log into HomeSir. You kind of put it on there, edit some information. You can even drop it into Chat GPT and have it dump a written version of it, where it tells you and it's got the video. And then, I mean, 10-15 minutes, you just take the video you used having fun teaching your kid about bugs out and thing, and you just make a course in literally 10 minutes, and you
Yeah.
put it on HomeStor, and it just stays there
Yeah.
forever. 10-15 minutes out of your day, just to edit it and put it on there onto homester.com, and it's just perpetually there. And then every so often, boom, 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 people buy it or whatever. Say you set it for $15,
Yeah.
boom, every single time, you know, and you don't have to do anything. Just it's there, it's done. You don't got to do anything. You could add more later on in the future. Make other classes course on, feral cats if you wanted to. But
Speaking of cats,
the point is that like right now we're just recording this, and it could be like, this is how you talk to people on a podcast. Then we just dump it onto homester.com, kind of get a little bit of edit and put it up on there as a course on how to talk to people on a podcast. And then it just sits there forever. Yep. And it does never go anywhere. But every time somebody sees it, they watch it or pay for the class or whatever, and you make a little bit of money.
Exactly.
Or you can post it on your Facebook and have your friends pay for it, whatever the case is. Either way, it's 10, 15 minutes out of your day, easy money, and it just sits there forever.
Like the old audio video classes that they used to have, which I don't know if they're still even around or not, but yeah, I mean, the options are limitless, and I mean, it's not as difficult to actually get the right kind of education for your kids and help provide that kind of education.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
like Udemy is pretty good, but Udemy is a lot of their courses are cookie cutters. Yeah. A lot of them are geared towards adults. A lot of them are actually, like, I hate to say it, but a lot of them are Chinese companies that like, when you buy a hairbrush from America, like a handmade person, may cost a little bit more, but you'll have the hairbrush till you're 75. You buy one on Amazon from China, and you'll have it till next year.
Yeah.
So that's the difference in Udemy courses. And Udemy is not knocking them. So what they do is decent. You can go on there and buy and stuff. But what we're doing is looking to make the course just more credible, more stronger, and just have an incentively much more value. Just where it's actually worth something. You actually learn some stuff, especially for your kids.
Right. And the great thing about what we're doing is that it's geared towards homeschoolers, not just everybody. It's not trying to shoot out, and it's focused on
not towards corporate.
Yeah. Because in all truth, we could easily sit there and say, okay, well, we're going to make a Udemy knockoff.
Right.
So you're just doing pre-recorded courses only with this. Mm-hmm. Say,
that's all it is, pre-recorded.
Right. I mean, think about it. A mechanic can easily sit there and say, my kid needs to learn how to do this. And that's another thing, like, got me in the thought, as well as the whole Micro's sweat pledge, I think it is, about how he's trying to bring the trades and skilled trades back into realistic life and all this, where for the longest time, everybody's Microworks, where everybody was sitting there going, okay, well, you have to go to college. And I'm sitting there telling my wife, I'm like, if my son wants to become an electrician or a plumber, I mean, there's a guy that when he came, young guy, came, fix our AC, and literally was like, pulls up in this decent looking car, and he goes, yeah, this is my beater. He goes, my wife, and he talked Chinese, and he had a niche market to where, because he talked to Chinese, he worked with a lot of the Chinese people in the area where I live. There's a huge thing of Chinese and Asians and all this. And literally this guy was just having a killing. He owned, mind you, I think he was like in his mid-20s, late 20s, had multiple houses, had nice cars, and all he did was have a certification, like he had some experience working with HVAC, decided after he did his apprenticeship, whatever, started his own HVAC system dealing with a specific group, and now he's making a killing, and he's even hard to get a hold of now to say, hey, do you have time to come out? Because he's so busy and popular and what so have you. Mm-hmm. Teaching kids that they have the ability to learn something other than college. Like I said, for me, I went to college. And I have a business degree, and I barely use that business degree. Most everything I've done is focused around construction one way or another. Construction, project management, design, what's have you.
Right.
And for me, my thought is why not find a way to offer kids a way to learn about like construction math? Okay,
Right.
well, you need know your multiples by 6 and 12s.
Yeah.
Then you need to understand your fractions. Okay. Then degrees
Right.
and circumferences and blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not rocket science, but it's also
Right.
taking that math and showing kids, hey, this is a real world application.
Right. And
And
that plus a lot of kids go to college thinking I'm totally interested in, construction engineering, and they get halfway through and go, this sucks.
yeah,
And they get out. So they essentially just put themselves in years and years of
debt,
debt for no reason. You know what I mean? Now and then they're switching um, what
majors,
do you
and
call it? Yeah, switching majors, or they're just straight flat out getting out of college. So they have debt with no degree. So it's
right.
almost like useless. So it can also kind of serve as a way to show, hey, this is what you get into there, buddy.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, the one thing that I think is a fantastic idea with this homeschooling platform is as we bring people on, and I will be putting a focus into getting some of these skilled trade people in
Hmm.
so that they can help as well with this. But a
Yeah,
big thing is going to be is allowing these people to be able to, these kids to learn that skilled trades have a huge value,
right,
especially if you get into the right area, you get in with a
right.
good company, you can, yeah, mind you, some
I,
of the
I remember,
times that,
I remember people used to make fun of plumbers.
oh yeah,
Like they used to always make fun of them, like crack jokes on them. Oh, fat guy, butt crack hanging out, blah blah blah. Yeah, I know a couple of plumbers, a couple of my friends that became plumbers. They they worked for companies as plumbers and made 100 grand a year. 5 6 years into it, they kind of flipped and did their own thing.
mm-hmm,
And now they make like hundreds of thousands, and they don't even work anymore. They just run their business and they have employees. So
yeah. And that's the thing is the market's out there, and it's, for me, my thought is if we're going to, if we're going to take the time to teach our kids, and I understand you want your kids to be better than you, and like I've always say, be better so they can be better.
yeah,
And part of it is like even no matter how good I have it, I still want my kids to learn how to change a light switch, how to
yeah,
handle being shocked by electricity in a residential level without falling off a ladder. I mean,
yeah.
the basics.
But yeah,
But
curse and yell and then blame somebody else. That's how you get shocked in
oh
public, anyways.
yeah, well, when I was a going to vocational school for electrical, and that's why I use it as an example because I'm strong
Yeah.
electrical background. My electrical instructor, I remember I was up on a scissor lift, and we're in
Mm,
the school's cafeteria, and I'm up there and I'm working on changing a ballast out, and he goes, just keep in
mm.
mind two things. I'm like, what's that? He goes, one, it's a live electricity, so you can get shocked. Two, if you get shocked and you fall off, don't scream, be a man, just bear and grin the
Get up and deal
fall.
with
I'm like
it. Yeah.
thinking, like, okay, well, I'm 30 feet above the ground.
If I
This would
fall,
hurt.
yeah, I don't think I
Yeah.
can be a man. That's where you just go to the hospital. My arms like over here.
Right. But
Back behind my neck in two pieces.
yeah, but the concept is simple. It's basically
Yeah.
learning things that you're not going to learn in a public school.
Right.
You're, because public school is meant to teach you how to fit into a cookie cutter position. And you
Mm,
look at what public schools are teaching so much that kids are going wanting to be gender studies or
right.
activist major. I mean, I kid you not, I've recently read that there's colleges teaching how to be activists. And
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this stuff is crazy that you think that you need to learn to be an activist. You need to learn how to
Right.
be, no, you need to learn how to change your light bulbs. You need to learn how
Yeah.
to have a skill. So, and I don't care if your
Basic
skill,
household care.
right. And
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we need to teach our kids things. And that's a lot of,
The real question here is, have you ever been in jail or in a prison?
have I? No. Well,
Yeah.
I've been in a holding cell is the worst I've ever had.
Okay. Yeah. I've never been to a prison before. Uh,
Right.
I've been like visited and seen pictures of, but not for me. But I mean, every picture of that I've seen, and the one that I visited is down in Palm Beach County. It's a pretty big prison.
Right.
Um, but pretty much every time I've ever seen one, where do all the prisoners go to eat lunch, or dinner or something, right? They go to a cafeteria where they get served food by cafeteria people. Then
Mm-hmm.
they go and sit in the little chairs and the thing in the big line in the cafeteria and hang out with their little groups and clans and cliques and whatever else.
Right.
How do they know when their time's up? Right? You know,
Yep.
all the same, very similar,
Schools versus
ways
prisons. Yeah.
about it. Right? There's very similar. It's all because I mean, it's almost as if they put in the curriculars as just kind of something to get you to go, oh, okay, I'll put my kid there.
Right.
When in reality, that's not the goal. The goal of school nowadays seems to be to get your kid to do what they're told, which
All right.
is okay in an extent, but you also need to teach them to think because when they get older, they don't need to do what they're told. They should just have simple morals. They should know not to beat people up or rob people just because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
But they should still know that they can do it because they're a grown up. Once they become a grown up, it's, they have the ability to think and do whatever they want. So you have to teach them to think the right way and use their brain. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the goal. School doesn't do that. School tells them to think when you're done with school, the next thing you need to do is either go get a job or go to college. When you're done with college, go get a job in the field you worked. Nothing ever teaches anybody uh, like what is an LLC. Nobody
Right.
teaches you that. Nobody
Well,
teaches you the process of how to file for an LLC, let alone what it is in the first place. You know what I mean? So, and then how what if okay, so I do know how to be a plumber. I know how to take this pipe, put it to this pipe, and make the water go that way. I know how to do that,
and do
right?
so it doesn't leak. Yes.
Right. And do it so it doesn't leak. I know how to do that as a plumber, sure. But how do I take that and turn it into a profiting business?
Right.
You know, but they don't teach you that in school, and they never will. Even in
No.
college, they don't teach you that stuff.
No. I mean,
So,
a lot of my business degree was writing skills.
hmm Math.
The math. I mean, the actual, which I always found funny that business school teaches a lot of theories, this and that, but
hmm
it's it's rarely taught by somebody that. And here's what I find crazy is the people that do teach it, they're usually people that are not in the industry, have
Right.
never. I mean, it's
Their own bad business.
right. Well, it's crazy. Like if you think about it, like, and not to get political, but look how many of these politicians out there are talking about how they're creating jobs when these are people who's never had a job,
Right.
never never created a business in their lives to have employees to be able to say, okay, I understand this. It's oh,
Yeah.
I've worked for the government my whole life. I've never had to hire anybody. I've had I've had these people appointed to me or whatever it is. I mean, the whole
Right.
concept of them being able to say, well, I'm creating jobs. Well, no,
Yeah.
you're creating regulations that are stopping some people from
Yeah.
making jobs and helping your
Right.
friends create jobs. And again,
Right.
that's both sides. That's not just Republicans or
Right.
Democrats
Yeah.
because Yeah,
shifting law to benefit yourself and your friends.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
my wife's business. My wife did a business degree, and her business degree was very like
general.
theory. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all business theory. So all she did was study what these like one of them was like what Walmart did for like different business practices. I'm like, that doesn't teach you how to be a business. It doesn't make any sense. It's all business theory because that's Walmart's a giant corporation. You know, the
Right.
off chance that you become a giant corporation is like
Oh
one
yes.
in 19 billion, you know what I mean? And then once you do, I mean, you think the Walmart dudes, what is their last names? Walls or whatever? You think those dudes are doing any of those crazy business practices? No. They're
Right.
they're hiring a bunch of business specialists and contract specialists and all this stuff to do all these different things. You know, and then they have like boards and groups of all of these think tank people to think up these business practices. So it doesn't even make sense. And then they had her in classes like what do you call it? Somewhere like different theories on how stocks and stuff operated, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, she had to ask me what a lot of these different verbs and stuff, what is it, like, what does this mean, what is a hedge fund, and I'm like, I had to like explain it to her, you know,
Right.
what a hedge fund was. You know, and I've never took a business degree, I just knew what it was, you know what I mean, just from using that stuff and
Right.
doing it and interacting with it. She had to like read about it, and she still doesn't really know much about it, like, at all, like.
Well,
So it's super weird how that stuff is.
what
It
I
doesn't make
find
any
funny.
sense.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, I find it funny is like I've mentioned I have a business degree. Most of my
Mm,
business experience is working for a small company where I had to
yeah,
be basically next to the owner of the company, learning, seeing what he's doing, listening to things he's saying, reading books that were not textbooks that didn't cost $300 for the textbook,
right.
and where I would pay $15, $12 back then for a thick book that I would sit and read on, written by actual people that's owned businesses, ran businesses, things like that.
Mm,
And it was almost like a memoir kind of and business oriented. And I was able to see that in real life. And like you said, I had to be involved. I had to do stuff. I had to
yeah,
operate accordingly so that I
right.
could get this stuff done.
Yeah,
The whole thing is coming down that in the real world, like what I want is in my theory in life is, say my son, huge nature person. I don't know why this
mm,
earphone is falling out all the time, but my son, a huge nature person. Say he wants to become a veterinarian, right?
right.
Well, one thing I'm gonna do is say, okay, well, you want to become a veterinarian. First thing to do, go learn from a veterinarian, work as a helping hand or something like that for a year.
Yeah, you're a little vet tech or dog
Yeah,
washer.
yeah, whatever it is, to see what is actually happening inside a veterinarian,
Right.
because that's, and then talk to the vet. What do I need to learn? What
Yeah,
honestly do I need to learn to do this job? Not the school requires this, this, and this. If you want to be a good
yeah,
vet, what do you need to learn? Mind you, to become a
right,
vet, become a licensed vet, you have to have the degree and blah blah blah.
right.
But okay, so you're having specific, but let's say for an example, you go work for a plumber. We'll use a plumber as an example, an electrician, and you go and you work for him and you're saying, okay, you have a successful business.
Hmm.
I'm gonna take these. What classes do I need to take, or what do I need to read to be able to do this? And he could say,
Right,
okay, I'm buying you these books. I want you to read them,
right.
and then one day a week you're going to sit with me while I operate the business so you can see how things are being done.
Hmm.
And I mean, these are the ways that how it used to be, the apprenticeships, the
Right.
mentorships.
Yeah.
And as we improve, I want to kind of bring that back into homeschool so that
Mm-hmm.
people can be able to have that. But as again, this
Yeah.
is things as we grow, we're going to be doing everything we can to provide homeschooling
Mm-hmm.
families with everything they need to be able to
Right.
send their kids out in the real world. It's not because as much as we like to
Yep.
say we can teach our kids everything, we're
You
limited,
can't. It's
obviously.
hard.
No,
Yeah.
but
Right.
we can take the steps and the opportunities to actually build up that knowledge and
Mm-hmm.
utilize the community that we find.
Right.
And like I said, it's not just going to be pre-recorded. Like my math class that I'm going to do is going to be live online. I'm going to have
Mm-hmm.
slides. I'm going to have all this stuff, the video and
Right.
what so have you. And
Yeah.
using that to teach where I can answer questions as I'm teaching, where I can interact with the
Yeah.
students. And one thing I will say to all the parents that are utilizing this is sit with your kids or sit close by your kids to hear what's being taught. That way you
Yeah.
can just
For
one,
sure.
discuss it with them. Two, don't as much as I like to say, oh yeah, everyone in the homeschool community is fantastic.
Yeah.
You don't trust strangers
Right.
in the sense,
Yeah.
and don't let
Right.
your
We
kids
can
talk to
say
them.
we're trustworthy all we want,
Exactly.
but do you know that? I mean, I personally know Mr. Pancakes, and he is trustworthy.
Yes, but the fact is it seems like education as a whole has gone way south because
Yeah.
the big thing that hear a lot of people talking about is I bought a desk to teach my kid. I try to teach my kid just like they would learn in school. Well, you're trying to teach them not like the public school. The only advantage of, from what I understand, the public school provides is teaching them,
Free.
well, it's free, but it teaches them how to sit and take a test. It
Yeah.
teaches them
Yeah.
how to learn, not learn
Patience.
how to do it, how to do the skill, but how to learn the facts so you can tell somebody about the skill.
Yeah. And technically, it's not free. You pay your
No,
taxes.
yeah, trust me, I'm well aware of that. But it's, yeah, it's not free, and there's no such thing as a free lunch is a phrase that I'm very
Yeah.
adamant to. So,
Yeah.
but
I love that when the Obamas were like, "We got children free lunches in school." No, you didn't. You
yeah,
gave those kids free lunches
and then
because
you charge
those
us.
people paid for it.
Exactly. So the government does, and that's, you know what? One course I'd love to see somebody teach why the government does not make money. The government,
Right.
it will
Prints
make,
money.
it will print money, but the government does not do anything to create a profit, which it
Right.
should. The government should figure out how to do something, create a profit, and run in the sense that it is going to improve its income
Hmm.
instead of, I guess, I'd say you look at the serfs and the peasants and all these people, they were taxed by their local government to keep
Yeah.
them down enough that they couldn't afford to rise up against the kings and the dukes and
Yeah.
the ruling class.
You know how we force the government uh, to put itself in a positive surplus and build some sort of profit. What's his name? The the guy who invented or started Berkshire Hathaway said, I
Oh,
can't remember his name.
yeah, that's
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. That's it. Warren Buffett said, um, the government should not go anywhere near or less than a GDP of 3.5. If it does, every sitting member in Congress is immediately from that moment, the moment it goes tick less than 3.5 GDP, it goes to 3.4.9, whatever, 3.499999
Right.
GDP. Every single member of Congress and the Senate is no longer sitting. And we have no Congress and we have no Senate. And we do a new mid cycle emergency vote
Mm.
countrywide, like right then and there. I can guarantee you every single one of them suckers will be doing everything they can to keep GDP above 3.5%.
No. So that's a great theory, but you want to know why that won't
Yeah.
work. And this is something that,
Why? Yeah.
because think about it. How many people are in Congress and Senate that have been there? Like, look at
For like 40
like
years.
Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell.
Right.
I mean, some of these people, they get in and they
Yeah.
never get out.
Yeah.
They get out of college and they run for politics, or they do whatever they need to do, and
Yeah.
they don't work a job, but they live in politics, and they're in
Yeah.
politics their entire life. They get into
Yeah.
Congress and they've been in Congress than
Ever.
longer than most businesses that have started, because they create
Yeah.
laws to put them out of business.
Right.
But the the fact is people, and that's a problem, is political science isn't really taught anymore. And if people were taught political science and taught about all this stuff, they would learn, hey, I need to know about the candidates. But
Right.
here's what happens right now. I can promise 90 to 95% is my rough guess, right? On election day, people are going to go out. They have an R. They have an R behind their name. Check, 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 check. They have a D.
Yeah.
Check, 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 check. They're not going to know anything about any of the candidates other than who's
Right.
at. If it's a, and most likely they're only voting presidential elections.
Yeah.
If so,
So my
the
dad does. He goes and votes on election day, but he doesn't choose who he votes for. He just says because
down
there's an
ballot,
option. Yeah, there's an option to hit all Democrat or all Republican. He just smashes the all Republican button. I'm
right?
like, don't do that.
But see, that's the thing is, why do you think they do that? That way, nobody looks at who's doing it.
Yeah.
So, and what it is a lot of people sitting there saying, "Oh well, these people," and I hate to say it, I've seen some Democrats. I don't agree with everything they say, but
Yeah.
and this isn't nationally, but I've seen some Democrats who have still a head on their set, where they're on their shoulders, where they're what I would
Yeah.
call classic liberals,
Right.
The JFK liberals,
Right.
where like what is it? Look at Tulsi Gabbard, right?
Yeah.
I definitely don't agree with everything she says,
Right.
but she's kind of on that classic liberal mindset, right? You look at
Right.
what's the guy from West Virginia that just switched to independent, who was a
Um,
Democrat. I
the
can't.
Kennedy guy.
No. You're. This is I can't remember his name now, but he was he was a kind of a classic liberal kind of thinker.
Hmm.
He was a
Right.
Democrat, and he voted a lot with the Democrats when he was forced to. But
Right.
I mean, there's those people out there that
Hmm.
are kind of classic liberals who will still stand up for what's right. You
Hmm.
don't agree with everything, but and then you have the Republicans who are just Republicans by name, because they know
Right.
I'm in a Republican area.
Right.
It so I need to be listed as a Republican.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. It
I hate to
goes
say,
both hands on both
yeah,
parties. Yeah, that type of information should be taught to people, and especially when you're young as a kid. You know, I mean, obviously, I shouldn't be teaching a 5-year-old that stuff. Like, I'm not over here like let's teach our 5-year-olds, and that's just blatant indoctrination.
right,
Because they at that age they, for the most part, don't really think 100% for themselves. They do whatever daddy tells them. So,
right,
um, yeah, when you're, I mean, when as they get older, in their younger, probably 12 and 13, and then is where you could kind of start it, and then start a little bit older, a little bit older, a little bit more through the course of their teen years. Obviously, the number one goal is when they're very young is to teach them the moral side of it, based, how to think about morals and life and reality. And then as they get older, you try to connect politics with that. Um, yeah, and that stuff just isn't taught anymore in school. So that's why people like my dad just go, I like
Well,
guns, Republican.
yeah,
I like guns too, but I mean, it's not the only reason I'm voting for this person or that.
right. And in all truth, most times anymore, it is a definite divide. But you look at it,
Right.
it's. I mean, years ago there was they weren't that far apart, and you actually had quite a
Mhm.
few crossovers.
Right.
But I mean, you look at primaries. Like you go to have a new Republican try to get in, and most people are sitting there going, "Well, Joe Smo's been in office for 30 some years. Why would I vote for anyone else other than him? Because he's the
Yeah.
he's the Republican or he's the Democrat that I've known." I mean,
Yeah.
the fact of we need to teach our kids not just, and this isn't just political, on all
Right.
aspects. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people look at,
Because has anything changed or gotten better in the 30 years that he's been in? So when he says he's going to make it better now,
well, think about it.
all of a
It's
sudden.
so even in business aspect, this is how we've been doing it, blah blah blah,
Right.
right? Okay, well,
Business as usual.
yeah. Okay, well, you do know if we try this, if we change this, then we can this could happen. But if we don't, then nothing happens and nothing changes. You don't get an improvement, you don't get a loss. But the fact is what tends to happen is you get stuck in a specific way, you get stuck in a specific mindset, and you get stagnant. And
Yeah.
it's the people that are trying to do something new that tend
Yeah.
to build something and find something that makes it better for their employees, for their constituents, their
Right.
whatever. It's
Right. Yeah, for sure.
and kids learning the skills, learning that there's another way of thinking, or
hmm
I need to learn this or I need to learn that, or like you look at it like the
Right.
micro is his micro works is meant to teach people, hey, there's another option other than college.
Right.
And okay, you go to college, like when I went to college, by the time I graduated, you ended up with $50,000 in debt. Now
Yeah.
and now looking
Like
at
a
it, that
100.
150, if not more,
Yeah.
and that's just for a 4-year degree.
Right.
Now, if you want to have a degree specific, you end up with 2, 3, 500,000, depending on how high you're going. I
Right.
mean,
And then
and
you want to go to school for 6-8 years and get your PhD in string theory and evolution of dance. Like,
yeah,
the hell? So first off, evolution of dance, dumb, no one cares. Second off, string theory.
right.
The only
Well,
job you're ever gonna get is at a college. So you're just perpetually in college forever. You just band yourself to college forever. Idiot. So,
well,
you got to think about what you do first before you go kind of get that information about what you're going to do, what you want to do. Get, inside scoops, see things, especially at a young age, kind of develop that ideas and ability to think for what you want to do. Because if somebody just tells you what you want to do, then
then,
especially in
well,
school.
I'd say the government is the one that's handing out the loans for colleges now.
Right.
They took it away from the private banks because they thought that the private banks were making money, heaven forbid, off of people, and they were not loaning out for people that wanted to go get degrees that had no value.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Right. You want to
Wanting
know something funny that I bet you no one knows?
what?
And this is a real thing. This is that using your brain and thinking about stuff before just doing what you're told in school. This is something I learned outside of school. The Federal Reserve is not a government entity.
Nope.
It is a private bank.
Yep. But the government has its hands in it.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
not supposed to, but they have their
Yeah,
hands
that's
in
right.
it.
They're not supposed to, but they do. Yeah. Yeah. It is a privately operated bank that's run by government officials, which
It's supposed to be a
is
collection of the banks, if I'm not mistaken.
right. Yeah. And if you go Google the definition of communism. Communism is not socialism. Socialism and
Is
communism are actually different. Socialism is when the government owns the collective, right? Communism is when uh,
is the next
private,
step.
right? It's the step after that is when they essentially take a collective and then they give government officials the ability
Control.
and right to own their own individual private businesses that control the entire market. So it's essentially the government and private colluding together, which
Well, once,
what is the Federal Reserve?
yeah, well, for communism, once the government owns all businesses and
Hmm.
controls them in one way or another, which,
Right.
I mean, with all the licenses, the permits, and everything you have to do to have a business nowadays here in the States,
Basically the same thing, yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but,
Like China has private businesses, but all of their private businesses are owned and operated by government officials. There's no like just citizens. Like a normal citizen can't just go start a
well,
business.
so a normal citizen can start a business in China.
Mhm.
But what it is it's like you have a small store. You
Right.
have, but if you want to own a factory, if you want to own a larger business,
Hmm.
like you have to be working with the government and the government
Yeah.
can tell you how to run your business. So even the mom and
Right.
pop stores, the government, which if this sounds familiar, please stop me because heaven forbid the United States would never do this, where the government will come in and tell you, you are not allowed to serve somebody unless they have a passport, or they have this digital ID or whatever it is. I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
but not that we would ever do anything like that here. Kick people out of stores for not wearing the
Yeah.
proper symbols. But
Sweden has max income. Like a business can only make this much money. The
eh,
end.
I think I heard that, but I wasn't sure. But yeah, and that's the thing is these are things that aren't actually taught anymore of, hey,
Hmm.
like look at it. In all truth. Okay, I understand like medication. It gets expensive. And because of
Hmm.
the healthcare system, how it is, it's
Right.
completely corrupt inside out all the way through to make it harder on us. But the fact is that here's what here's what it comes down to is the government puts their fingers in it. The
Hmm.
government's involved in the healthcare, so they're putting regulations, all this.
Right.
Some
That causes
regulations,
it to.
right? Some regulations make sense, but like the what is it? The FDA, right?
Mhm.
They literally only approve. They don't even research a lot of what's being approved. And you
Right.
look at American cereals, right?
Mhm.
They're meeting the FDA standards, but FDA
Yeah.
standards that have not been looked at, studied, or examined
And
in,
are illegal in Europe.
yeah, for
Right.
decades. I mean, it's
Right.
been generations. But you want to know why they don't do it is because the corporations are paying,
Yeah.
and
They pay
this
them money.
and it was I just heard it and it stuck in my head that it's not capitalism people really dislike. It's crony
Yeah.
capitalism that people are against because what
Mhm.
we're doing is not building.
Communism.
Yeah,
Government and businesses colluding.
exactly. So
Hmm.
it's that whole thing because crony capitalism is not true capitalism.
Right.
It's the public government or what is it? Public private partnership kind of things, kind of like
Right.
the legacy
Yeah.
media likes to do.
Right.
But all this is basically not being taught. And
Mm-hmm.
this is why, like, for me, homeschooling, the great thing about it is I'm teaching my kids how to think, not what
Right.
to think. They
Not
they
what to think.
they may disagree with my theories on stuff down the road, and
Yeah.
even my son now will sit there and say, "I want to do this." Why? Well, because. Well, no. Give me a reason. Explain to me. He'll go through, he'll negotiate, or I want this. Why? He'll explain, we'll debate, we'll discuss it, and all these different things. I mean, that's kind of, to bring it back to
Right.
HomeSir, that's kind of what HomeSir is meant to do, is bring that ability for people to learn and expand their range of
Yeah.
knowledge so they can learn how to think. I mean,
Right.
a lot of the things that I learned how to figure stuff out isn't because of what I learned while I was in school, but
Right.
my stepdad teaching me how to work on a 1979 Firebird that was a POS. I mean, literally holes in the
Right.
floorboard, overheated. My God, that thing was a death trap, and I wish I would have stuck with it on learning how to build it up, all this stuff. I was
Mm-hmm.
young and dumb, and I didn't do that, but I learned a lot of stuff working with him doing that. Being
Yeah.
doing an apprenticeship as an electrician, trust me, it's one of those things that you get your hands dirty. And I'm not saying, hey, you have to
Yeah.
be an electrician or a plumber or a carpenter all your
Right.
life. But like you said, start off, learn it, understand it. I started off with the electrical trade. I
Mm-hmm.
ended up moving to a different area, but used that knowledge to get back into the construction field after I got myself into the right mindset, where I
Right.
started designing restaurants. I started designing buildings. I started
Mm-hmm.
working with architects and engineers and things like that, where
Right.
I was providing something that I could use that knowledge. And using that knowledge, I replace all my own light switches and receptacles.
Right.
There's things I know I need to bring an electrician or a plumber in for, because one, I don't have the tools
Yeah.
anymore to do it.
Yeah.
Two, I have two kids, a wife. Finding the
Yeah.
time to do it is rough.
And yeah, let's be
But
honest, YouTube is only so good.
exactly. But there's a reason that we pay people to have the expertise in a subject.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Right.
I can replace some stuff, but we need to be taught to understand the process. And like my daughter, I want to teach her to understand how a car works so that when somebody sits there and says, "Oh, well, your turner fluid, your your turn light fluid is low. We need to replace that." And then we need to
Yeah. She could be like, he'll be done.
yeah. So I mean, it's that whole thing is, if somebody's trying to scam her, you have to understand the process of what it is. You
Hmm.
might not be able to say, well, this computer language for this car is this, and no. But if you
Hmm.
can say, well, I know the timing belt is this, the
Right.
transmission is down there, the engine block is this, okay, a
Yeah.
piston, things like that. I mean, the general things of it. I know that you don't
Yeah.
use lead pipes. I know you don't use,
Anymore.
yes.
We
So,
when I first joined the military, we had this kid that was like blatantly naive, just a young kid. He was a
right.
doofus. Um, and what we used to call it the cop shack, the MPs or whatever, the security forces for Air Force guys, so on and so forth. So we, when I first got into the military, I was in aviation, so aerospace. So I worked on the flat line, stuff like that. Um, then, so we told this kid, we need what's called K9P lubricant,
Right.
and we told him you only can get it at this building, and we gave him the address to the building on base. And he was like, okay, you have to go there and you have to order it. It's a warehouse. You have to go there and order it from the girl at the counter. She has it. It's called K9P lubricant. And he went all the way over there and got all the way through the process ordering it, and the cops at the cop shack knew exactly what he was talking about because they know us and we've done it a few times. And he went over there and he ordered K9P.
Yeah, I heard that.
Did, so.
I've heard that joke before, and
yeah, we actually did it quite a few times.
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't think, and that's the thing is, if you sit there and say, what is it, the old Simpson jokes, like Bart Simpson calls Moe and does his pranks, and if you say it quickly, or if you say it slowly, it's one thing. If you say it quickly, it sounds completely different.
Like it legit, yeah.
Like
and
my
we had plenty of lubricants that sounded like that, like 3CPL something lubricant or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's like, what is it? My wife sent me a video. There's this young girl talking to a young guy, 20s or something, because to me, if you're in your 20s, you're young now. But this girl, she had an accent, and the guy goes, "Well, can I have your number?" She goes, "Yes. It's 666 sex 39 sex." And he's sitting there, and she pulls his phone and types it in and hits 666 396. Right. So he was hearing sex, free tonight, sex.
Right.
And it's one of those things that it's easy to misunderstand something that's being said or what's I have you. And it's funny, but like you guys probably had a good old time with everyone. And I'm sure everyone that had that happen to him was like, hold on, this one's mine. All right.
Yeah, my turn.
Yeah. You made me do this last time. Let me do this because you want to joke around and it's a harmless prank, but it's one of those things that when coming in, it's easy to tease somebody to have them do that because they don't understand. Oh, there's this, there's that. Yeah. Because they don't. Right. But when you actually have that knowledge to start with, you can sit there and go, yeah, funny. Why don't you come with me? Show me how to fill out the form. Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the idea behind someone taking advantage of your daughter at the car
mechanics.
Shop saying, I've got to order you new muffler bearings. Like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
Yeah. Or what is it? Your turn light fluid was the one I always heard.
Blinker fluid.
Blinker fluid. Yes. But
muffler bearings, blinker fluid, and a few of them.
Let's do this. We've been going on this rant for a bit. I mean, I think most people at this point knows where we stand with teaching your kids methods, and as HomeSir grows, you need to go there. Which, by the way, HomeSir is a sponsor. Since it is our company, it is our sponsor. So go to homesir.com where now or whenever you get a chance to go, you can be able to get great classes, get great information, great resources. We're going to keep building this up to where it's going to benefit homeschoolers, people that want to improve what the public schools or private schools are doing. Just whatever.
Absolutely.
It's going to be an amazing place, and we're just getting started at this point, and I promise soon enough it's going to be the place to be for homeschooling. So, Mr. Pancakes, tell people where to find you. So if they want to contact you, want to learn more about you or learn what you're doing, where do they go?
Yeah. So, as always, the normal place, pancakeswithdad.com. That's the main centralized location. You can find all the links to all of our social medias and stuff. You got LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X, or Twitter, as some might know it. And then Truth Social. Those are all the socials, all there all the time. You can message me. Probably one of the better places is through the messaging on the website, because it just goes right to my email. Just don't forget, one of the best ways to support us on on the Pancake for Dad website is through, buying merch, checking out cool things. Even if you have ideas for new shirt ideas or mugs or something you want me to get made for you, just send me an email. I'm always happy to do something, extra. You want me to make a custom mug? I think I have access to the custom abilities now. So just shoot me an email, shoot me a message. I'm always happy to try and do something new. That's the best way, because all the profits go back into what we're doing to try and help build further and further.
Sounds perfect. And of course, with me, with Call with Dads, with us, our website is the best way to reach out to either me or Mr. Pancakes if it's directly related to Call with Dads, where callwithdads.com. That's obviously, if you're watching the show, you should be able to figure out the name pretty easily for the website. Where you go, we have our podcast there. You can also find where it's locally on your favorite player. Mm-hmm. As I've always said, if you're not finding us on your favorite podcast player, shoot me a message. Let me know. I will get it on there with all of our back episodes as well. So you can also go to YouTube, Rumble. We're there. We have a pretty good system going there as well. And of course, social media, X, Facebook, Instagram now. We have LinkedIn. So reach out to us. Let us know what we can do for you. Let us know if you have any questions, or if there's even somebody you want to hear come on the show to discuss a topic. Feel free to let us know. We're happy to try to reach out and get that guest on so that we can get the topic discussed for you.
Trump.
Yeah, I don't think, let's see here, Trump's going on Joe Rogan. I don't think he's going to come on Call with Dads.
We're not quite Joe Rogan yet. Come on.
No, we're definitely not
Fine,
Joe
we'll
Rogan.
We'll get Pamela. We'll get the cackler on.
I couldn't handle that. That's yeah. With that being said, everybody, thank you for being here. We appreciate it, and you have a good one.
Absolutely. Yep. Have a good one. Bye.